Okay, so welcome everybody to the great adventure of life. It's Monday, November the 29th
Here in Hawaii.
here in Hawaii, November 30th, where many of you are. And this is the Open Hearted Practice Group. And I'm Jim.
And I'm Jory. And I imagine you know both of us. You've seen us, but probably not with this background since we're in our car.
Car?
Yep. Yeah, we're in
Yes.
our car because we lost electricity at our house.
Wow.
And so we got in our car and drove until we found electricity. And now we're using my phone as a hotspot. And so far it seems to be working.
Yeah.
And
And happy Hanukkah. I see the Hanukkah candles lit in the middle of my screen.
Yep. Trying to add
are-
a little light to your car.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cute.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Yeah.
The second night here.
We lit the first candle, but we won't be lighting the other candle.
You
until
got
after
6
class.
more chances, so don't give up.
Yep.
Well, it's not quite candle time here yet.
Yeah, we still got a little ways to go.
Yeah, but we'll be home in time for candle time.
So our
Great.
topic today is reconnecting to self and recovering from reactivity, which is fancy language for self-empathy. And so we'll be learning and practicing some skills for self-empathy today. And I've had lots of chance to practice over the last hour or so. And so it's live practice is going on. And we'll do our best to kind of have a normal class, even though we're on the same screen. And so we'll be trying to juggle more than one task at the same time. So please be patient with us. So
Sound like a millennial, your voice going up like that.
I see what you mean. Thank you very much for showing me. It's actually called upspeak.
Oh,
I learned from a linguist, upspeak. So let's just start with a little self-connection exercise, and then we'll see if we can get breakout rooms to work remotely here, so you can do a chance to check in. So Jory, you want to lead the self-connection exercise?
no.
No, you want me to do that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
So if you want to play along and do a self-connection exercise, basically it means that we're just going to be practicing NVC just with ourselves. I won't be trying to take you anywhere other than to your own direct experience. So I'm not going to be trying to hypnotize you or any of that kind of stuff. It's just a chance to check out what's going on in your own body and your own experience. So begin with just noticing what you're doing right now. Bring a quality of mindfulness to your present experience. You're probably looking at a device, maybe a computer screen or a phone, or maybe you're just listening in. So just bring some presence to what you're doing right now. And notice that presence happens right now and right here. It's the only place that presence can happen. Is right here and right now. Then notice that you're also observing right now. You can't help it. You can't not observe. You're hearing my words. Maybe your eyes are closed now, maybe they're open, but nevertheless, you're getting some kind of visual input. Maybe if all you're doing is looking at the back of your eyelids. You may be aware of odors or aromas in your environment. You can become aware of what you're touching, either with your fingertips or any other part of your body, or your skin is receiving information from the world. You might even have a lingering taste left over in your mouth. You can even observe some of the sounds in our environment as a truck just drove by. So notice that observing is thoughtless. It doesn't require any thought to observe. It's like, if anything, we're allowing it to happen. We don't even need to allow it to happen. You'll observe whether you want to or not. And then as we observe the world, feelings naturally arise in our body. So notice what your body feels like right now. You might notice some sensations. Maybe there's some pain somewhere in your body. Or maybe there's a pleasant sensation somewhere in your body. Or maybe there's just kind of a feeling of numbness or no feeling, neutral feeling. Just check out your own experience of sensations. You may also be aware of emotions. Emotions is part of how we make meaning of the world. It motivates us to take action. So when we feel hungry, we move towards food. Feel tired, we move towards rest. So feelings are like information. And they're giving us information about our needs. So what needs are alive in you right now? If you don't like that word needs, you could use the word values, or you could even say, what's important to me right now? What's important to you right now? I'll make a few guesses based on previous experience. These are called empathy guesses. So I'm just guessing some of you are here for community. You're hopeful that you'll get some needs met for community today. Maybe it's about learning. You love it when you get to learn new things about NBC, get to practice. Maybe you're here because you value personal growth. Maybe you have a need for empathy right now, and you're hopeful that by hanging out here, you'll get that need met. Maybe you want to contribute something. Marshall Rosenberg, founder of NBC, once said that contribution, as far as he was concerned, was the most important human need of all. So maybe that's what's motivating you to be here. You'd like to help. Whatever it is that you find as your need, just savor that. Just enjoy that you're connected to your needs. And then the final part of the nonviolent communication process is the request piece. In this case, you might have a request of yourself. What can you do that can support you in getting your needs met here today? If your eyes have been closed, you can let them open when you're ready, if you want to. You can keep them closed for the whole class if you'd like to, but you can open them if you're ready, and Dory's got some small groups ready, so this seems to be working pretty well. in the small group, you get a chance to just check in with each other. So we recommend that you just introduce yourself, say what your name is, and then let people know what your response was to this exercise. Did you like it? Something that you want to celebrate about it? Did you?
I don't have another Japanese person.
Okay. Or did you not like it? So we're just doing a little last minute rearranging so people can practice in their own language. Hopefully we're guessing right. So we'll as soon as Jory gets these two people moved, we'll open them up. We'll do this for 10 minutes. Chance to practice the empathy part of nonviolent communication, which is the listening part. And also a chance for you to practice the honesty part of nonviolent communication, which is when you're expressing yourself.
Ready to go.
Okay, so looks like we got things ready to go. We'll have to make some adjustments here because some people have arrived. We've got about 60 people on the call, and make sure we got this at 10 minutes. Okay, that's perfect. I like that before, because then we got this down. Yeah, make that 1 minute. So, no, now you got it 19. There you go. Okay. All right. So we'll see you all back here in just about 10 minutes or so.
And again, if you joined in the last 5 or 10 minutes, you may not be in a room yet. Give us a bit of time. We'll get you there. Okay, here we go.
Oh my.
Yes, I'm gonna have to start from the bottom. It's crazy.
Give me a second to read this.
So, still working. Mute. Hi there, Denzel. We are doing breakout rooms, and there's still 3 or 4 minutes left if you'd like to go into one. We're just gathering.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I can stay in here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is the first
Welcome.
time I'm joining, so
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'm from the Philippines.
Oh,
I'm
welcome.
glad you're here.
Welcome.
I'm Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, we share the Pacific Ocean with you. We're on
Oh yeah.
Maui.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. How'd you learn about us or about this?
Somebody referred. I was actually researching some teachers because I really feel the call to teach or just share NVC after reading the book. I think and I really believe that's the ability to communicate what's in us is something that a lot of people lack in our society right now. It's not being taught in school. And so me as a young man, I live in a very conservative family, a Chinese family actually. Um, I really feel the call to share what NVC is all about. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm here.
Well, thank you for being here.
Lovely.
Thanks
Yes.
for
Yeah,
sharing a little bit of your learning journey with us.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi,
Uh-huh.
Denise.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for replying to my email. I'm
You're
digesting it.
very,
And
you're
I'll
very
reach
welcome.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you. So.
you're very
Hi, Jim.
welcome.
You guys in the car? What's going on? You're going somewhere?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the power went out in our house, and it was several hours ago. We thought we would get it back, but it didn't. So we got in the car and we drove up to this little shopping area, and now we're parked sort of very close to the back of the parking lot, making it work.
we're using our cell phone as a hotspot.
very committed and giving
Yeah.
us a different view and experience. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. We're
Thank
we're as close to a cell phone tower as we could get.
I thought you were on a journey somewhere, but well, I guess we are all on a journey somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly.
Waving at the people who own this this hardware store we're parked behind. I'm sure they think it's a little weird that we're here, but we're outside their fence, so it should be okay. But you
Hi,
can
Jim.
break it out and move a little bit.
Hey, Juliana.
Sorry, my
Glad
face
you-
looks.
Oh,
Glad you're here.
Where are you all, Jim? Traveling or something?
Yeah, everybody's in small groups for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah. No, I was asking about you. Are you on a holiday or somewhere up in?
No, we lost our electricity at our house. And so we got in the car and we drove about 7 minutes away from our house to a commercial area where there's a grocery store and a cell phone tower. So we're using my phone as a hotspot. And so far, so good. We're able to do small groups.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And everybody is going to be coming back in about 2 minutes.
I needed that.
Good morning.
Hi, Gail.
Hi.
Richard. Welcome, Margaret. Thanks, or did you come and go?
Margaret's right here.
Oh, there she is.
She's been here.
Okay. And then, has Vera been here? Okay.
Some people
Oh,
are
you're
coming back.
probably better off in checking who's here. Harder for me to see.
Everybody else will be back in about 1 more minute. Not really an agenda.
Okay,
I'm just kind of bringing it here.
okay, we'll just swing it. The room will close in about 50 seconds, 45 seconds.
I feel blessed to have 3 other certified trainers here that I see, Majida and Suda and Boon Ling.
Mhm.
So glad to have 3 more the support of all of you here.
Yeah, especially since we're in a bit of a tenuous situation. So far, they haven't kicked us out,
I think
even though
we're safe.
they've driven by us a couple times.
Let's see, Jen's here. I don't think she's here. But Suzanne said she could be our backup too, so we can make her a co-host
Yeah,
when she gets back.
great.
Just in case we lose something here.
That's a good idea.
Okay, looks like everybody is back. So welcome back, everybody. We remain in the parking lot, practicing presence and self-empathy. I'd love to open it up to find out if anybody here would like to share anything with the large group before we start working on some practices. If you know how to raise your hand, you can do that. If you don't know how to raise your hand, then on the bottom of your screen, there's a little button that says reactions. And if you click on that, then a little place opens up where it says you can raise your hand. Go ahead, Siva. Happy Hanukkah to you.
This one.
You're still muted, Siva.
There's a new film that I hope somehow anybody and everybody in the world could see. It's called Chasing Childhood.
Oh, sweet.
Chasing Childhood. It's a documentary about how it's so necessary to, as a child, to experience failure.
Yes.
And this overprotection that we're getting from everybody is killing us in terms of our social and emotional awarenesses.
Yeah. You really love it when people get a chance to really make mistakes and to do all that necessary learning that comes from that, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not just the children, but all of us.
Yes. And to remember we were once children, we're like not allowed to remember that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to do
So
the
if you could put
important business of making money so we can buy all these material important things.
Yes.
Yeah, would you be willing to put a link in the chat?
Okay.
So that if anybody is interested in that, they can follow up. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Siva.
Yeah.
Appreciate that lead.
It's the way they're marketing it is not good enough.
Yeah.
But
We'll have to help them.
What I
Yeah.
will do, here's what I will do. I will try to connect you with the marketers of the film, because today I wrote them a long email that they've got to make it easily available. I'm willing to spend $250 for so that a group that I'm belong to can, a small group can see it. So
Yeah.
What about the name of the film? That might be helpful
okay, Chasing Childhood. I'll do that.
in the chat.
I will. I
Yep.
will.
Thanks,
Okay,
Siva.
thank you, Siva.
And
then
Jerome?
Jo-
Jerome, are you there?
doesn't look like it.
Are you there, Jerome? Oh, there you are. Wow, it sounds very musical, but we can't understand what you're saying.
Because all we hear is the music.
Like you got- Yeah, you have a bad connection, Jerome. Maybe you could try calling back in. We'll try again later. Go ahead, Tanya.
So to piggyback on Siva, I put the link to chasingchildhooddocumentary.com on the
Oops. Yeah. Okay, try again, Tanya. Oh,
So
you
I
put
I put the link for the movie that Siva was talking about, the home for that, and what she was talking about, that you can rent the movie for a group. But
Well-
it's not like a $2 rental or anything.
Okay,
Well,
great.
thank you so much. I do see it, and it happened at 6:55 p.m. So for the rest of you, you're faster than I am, and I'm awestruck by your technical talents.
And I want everybody to know that for those of you who came in later in the call, Jim and I are in our car. You might be able to notice that part. And just to give you some background, that our power went out quite some time ago today. And so we are doing this from another location in our car. So
And I thought you were doing karaoke in the car.
so it might be a little bit less smooth than usual, but I noticed even the computer is moving a little bit because it's not on a very strong stand. So just give you an idea of what's going on here.
Live from Haiku, Hawaii on the North Shore of Maui for the very first time. If this works out well, we might just start doing this from the beach every week. Who knows? Yeah, so today's class is about reconnecting to self and recovering from reactivity. And so for those of you who are here for the first time, we've been building a toolbox for ourselves, utilizing what Marshall Rosenberg called the 4 components of nonviolent communication. And I'll just name some of the tools that we've been working with so far, so that you might have heard of these tools in other reading and so forth. And I'll just say a little bit about what each one means. But we started about, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago with the skill of presence. Presence is like this foundational skill in nonviolent communication. Everything else is built on being present, including the next skill we covered, which is observing, using the power of our 5 senses to connect with the external world, and also the power of our observational skills to begin to notice our internal world, including our thoughts, emotions, and so forth. And then we also worked on heightening our awareness of our feelings. Our bodies are like exquisitely crafted instruments for tuning in, to helping us tune in to what's going on in them. So when we feel hungry, we get motivated to eat. When we feel tired, we get motivated to sleep. And many of us have gotten disconnected from our feelings for various reasons. Could be trauma, could be the way we were educated. Certain training programs like military training are really designed to disconnect us from feelings so that we become very obedient to authority and so forth. And so a lot of us need some support in reconnecting to our bodies, to having that somatic experience. And then we worked on needs consciousness, the idea that is a central point of nonviolent communication, that who needs what is a vital piece of information if we want to live in peace. That peace will not be possible as long as people's needs are not met in a reliable and an abundant way. But we can't meet them unless we know what they are. And so we got some practice in identifying our needs and beginning to empathize with the needs of others. We also worked on self-acceptance, because some of us got the education that either our feelings were wrong or bad, or we shouldn't have them, big boys don't cry, and so forth. And some of us got the education that our needs were not, it wasn't okay to be needy, and so forth. And so we spent a whole class working on skills of self-acceptance in order to make it okay to be a human being. And today we're going to start using these basic tools to then apply nonviolent communication more in everyday life. And one of the most powerful ways of utilizing nonviolent communication is with our own self-empathy and self-compassion. And so that's what we're going to be working with today. And for me, it really begins with, again, with presence. And so just notice right now that you're present. You don't have to do anything but bring some attention to it. and it begins to heighten or amplify your awareness of this present moment. And if you have a brain, which I'm pretty sure all of you do, you'll notice that within just a few seconds for most of us, we move away from presence and we start either thinking about the past. You know, maybe we're still chewing on something that happened an hour ago, like losing your electricity, or your something that happened when you in your childhood or whatever. we chew and chew and chew on the past. And the other thing that we can do is take a little bicycle ride off into the future, where we're planning what's going to happen at the end of this call. And so that's all very normal, very human. And the idea is that you become present to the fact that you're thinking. So there's nothing wrong with being a thinker. We human beings need our thoughts for practical purposes and also to celebrate life.
Yeah, lucky we have our brains.
Yeah.
We think.
We couldn't even be having this conversation without that. So appreciate that. And presence is where it's all happening. Presence is the only place that connection can happen. So this brings us to the idea of intention. So let's just, if I was home on my computer, I'd have my slide all ready to go here, where you would get to see Marshall Rosenberg's words about the purpose of nonviolent communication. But I'll just say it to you, and I'll say it a couple times. Some people like to write this kind of stuff down. The purpose of nonviolent communication is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. So I'll say it again. The purpose of nonviolent communication is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. So intention is something that we do inside our experience. Attention is what we do when we're paying attention to the world and developing presence. Intention is about how we want to show up in the world. What is it that, how do we want to be in the world? What's our intention? What's your intention of being in this class? Maybe it's for learning, personal growth, that sort of thing. And then to generalize it to the purpose of nonviolent communication, to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. And so I notice when a lot of people talk about NVC, they talk about the first half of that intention. They talk about how the purpose of NVC is to connect. Well, connection without action can actually reinforce all the same problems that we've already got. We can empathize with somebody who's in a really painful situation and help them to feel okay about their painful situation. But unless we actually take the next step, which is compassionate giving and receiving, then we're not going to begin to change the systems that oppress people, that dominate people, that keep people in unequal positions of access to resources and so forth. And so the purpose of connection is in order to take compassionate action. So we like to make sure we underline in the purpose that it's not just connection, it's connection that's in the service of compassionate giving and receiving. So intention is where we put our focus on what's going on inside and what's motivating us. Attention is where we put our attention on the world and practice presence. When we're clear, I can just talk for myself. When I'm clear about what my intention is and where I'm placing my attention, there's something magical that can often happen. And that is we open to outcome. We get curious and full of wonder about what's going to happen next. And so then we're living from this intention and attention in a field of openness, being open to what happens next. And so these three concepts, when combined together, is what Jory and I call the zero step. We didn't make up that term, and neither did Marshall Rosenberg for that matter. It was a term that we learned at the very first NVC practice group that we went to by a guy named Mel Schneider. And he said, you know, NVC is about these four things: observation, feeling, need, and request. But what do we do before we practice that? What's our zero step? And that's this intention and attention place. And so you're probably in zero right now. It's our natural state. If you are listening to the sound of my voice, and you're have an intention to connect here with our community and with Jory and me, then you're in zero. You don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know whether Jory's going to speak or I'm going to speak or whether we're going to do an exercise. So you're already experiencing that openness to outcome. So this is as natural as you can get. This is the human condition. But because of the way we've been educated, sometimes we fall out of zero. We get disconnected from life. We get angry, hurt, sad, frustrated, some sort of a feeling that lets us know that we have moved out of the present. And now we get a little graspy or demanding about what should happen next. So let's do a quick little practice with that. So think of something that you lost. Something that you lost that you never found again. Something that mattered to you, but not something that's a really big deal. So maybe you lost a key once and you had to have it replaced. Or you lost a childhood stuffed animal and you never found it again. Or you lost your wallet. You lost $100 or some amount of money out of your wallet. You never found it again. It hurt, and you never got it back. So you're really with that experience of loss. So write down the observation of something that you lost. Anybody need some help with this step of thinking of something that you lost? Okay. All right. So how did you know that you lost it? What's the feeling that you notice in your body that lets you know that something isn't the way you wish it was? So you remember losing, like, I'm going to choose, when I was a little boy, I had a yellow blanket. It was like a security blanket. I have no idea where that thing is. Pretty sure my dad threw it away when I got to be a teenager or something like that. So I don't have it anymore. And when I think about that, having that security blanket and losing it, I have a sense of nostalgia, like a sweet pain, of sadness, a quality of missing. I notice even just starting to describe it, I just notice a little fullness behind my eyes, like not quite at the edge of tears, but moving in that direction. So that's what I notice in terms of my sensations. So tune into your body as you remember this loss, this thing that you lost, and then describe for yourself what you notice in your body. So first you notice the sensations or emotions and then name them and describe them for yourself. And I'll be quiet for a minute or so while you do that. Oh, you could write it down in the chat if you'd like. What did you notice in terms of the feelings associated with loss for you? a jaw-dropping feeling of confusion, perplexed,
Angry. Slight stomach sensation. Self-blame. It's hard for me to read.
me too, annoyance and embarrassment. More embarrassment, upset. If you have trouble identifying your sensations or emotions, you're not alone. Sometimes people, especially when they're relatively new to NVC, they say they don't feel anything in the body, and that's actually a feeling. It's called numb.
Yeah.
So you would just say, I feel numb. And that's a perfectly valid human experience. Or maybe you feel empty or void or blank. All that is your experience. No matter what experience you're having, it's a perfectly valid human experience. A sinking feeling, then sadness, then wondering where it had gone. I like what you're saying, Jennifer, because you're showing that oftentimes first we feel a sensation and then we'll have a thought about the sensation. Sometimes some of us will notice a thinking first, like someone wrote self-blame earlier. Sometimes we'll notice a thought first and notice a feeling. So both are perfectly great portals or entryways to self-empathy. Doesn't matter whether first you notice a sensation or a feeling in the body or a thought. They'll both take you where we're aiming for here. If you're caught up in thinking, then just notice that you're thinking, and then refocus on your body experience. How does your body feel when you blame yourself? And then you just notice that and name that for yourself. Any questions or comments about these first few stages here, these first few parts of the process? Okay, so most of this is pretty common in our psychologically sophisticated, emotionally intelligent lives these days. We're all getting more and more training and encouragement to be attuned to our bodies and somatic experiences and feelings and so forth.
At least in the crowds that we run in.
Yeah. And even in the New York Times, almost every week, there's something going on, about brain science or feelings and stuff like that. And so, but now we come to the thing that for me is the unique part about nonviolent communication, which is this notion of needs. So when you lost this item, why is it important to you? Why do you care? You care about something. And I know you care about the object or maybe the person or whatever it is that you're working with. But why? Why is it important to you? And this, by making this kind of an inquiry, what's important to me about losing this object? Then you'll start moving into a language of needs. Some of us don't have a very big vocabulary for needs, but I'll just say what's going on for me around my little yellow blankie, as I used to call it. I have this feeling of nostalgia, this sweet pain, the sadness. Kind of, it's actually reminding me of innocence. The need is for the innocence of childhood, kind of like maybe it was because of what Siva was mentioning earlier, that we grow up so fast and we lose that childhood innocence. So there's something so sweet about that innocence, and underneath that there's something about love, and that blanket has a big long story that I'm not going to tell you today, and so it even relates to a particular kind of love from my dad, and actually it awakens even some self-love, early experience of self-love related to that. And of course, the security blanket is related to security and safety. So all those needs are alive in me. So I'll be quiet for a moment while you consider what need is alive in you. I heard that there were some brand new people here today, so I'm going to share my screen. This is a needs list, not necessarily the only one in the world, but let me make it bigger for you. There you go. So we'll just hang out there with that needs chart. If you're familiar with it, you can just kind of contemplate it, see if any other needs come up for you related to your loss. Maybe. Okay, so now, anybody need more time or some support with connecting to your need? If any, feel free to just ask a question. We can make some guesses and help you discover it if you don't know. I see some people writing their needs: focus, trust, respect, safety, competence, presence. Security, accountability. By the way, there's no wrong needs. There's no wrong guesses. You're basically trying to reflect your own direct experience. Peace of mind, clarity, choice. So now, try to make a sentence for yourself. And I'm going to write it into the chat.
You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
What is it?
When I remember losing blank, I feel blank. Because I need / value blank. So write down a sentence like that for yourself so that you can briefly encapsulate your direct experience. So when I remember losing my yellow blanket, I feel nostalgic sadness because I value love.
The word needs and values are interchangeable.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes, Jennifer, go
That was
ahead.
a question already. You want another one?
Oh, sorry. um, uh, it was my teddy bear, and I lost it in the process of emigration. And so it felt like my country of origin had gone and my teddy bear. So it was a connection to self. And it's not just the connection to the past, it's the connection, like in Maridum, the land, the Tarangaraiwai, we call it, place to stand, and I can't find it in the needs chart.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something like belonging or identity.
Yes, identity, all of those things, yes.
Yeah,
It's a whole, it's a complex one, actually, yes.
very complex, yes.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing that even something like a yellow blanket or a childhood teddy bear can have such rich and deep connections to our internal experience, right at the level of our own identity? Yeah. Yeah. So then, now that you've written the sentence, if you have, then say it to yourself. But say it to yourself with a quality of warmth. So talk to yourself with a warm, loving tone and a quality of presence and mindfulness, and awaken a feeling of self-compassion. Many of us have childhood experiences of some kind of a loving presence, like maybe it was a kindergarten teacher or a parent or a grandparent or a neighbor or an older sibling or somebody that there was an experience of warmth and love from. And so that's the kind of voice that we're looking for. The kind of voice that you might use if you're with a 4-year-old who just fell down and skinned their knee. So talk to yourself with that kind of warmth and care. And as you talk to yourself that way, notice what kind of feelings arise in your body. I notice for me, as I talk to myself in that way, there's a quality of sweetness, a quality of understanding. You know, it's like my voice wants to say, of course you're sad about losing that thing. It was a one of a kind thing, and it'll never come back again. So of course there's nostalgia. Of course there's some pain around that. Anybody would feel the same way that you feel if they lost something like that. And when I talk to myself that way, I just feel kind of open and tender, and it supports my self-acceptance, supports my presence. So Marshall called this feeling sweet pain. Feeling sweet pain. The big fancy word in NVC is mourning. Just let yourself feel the sweetness as you talk to yourself in that way. And as you continue to reach yourself with that warmth, notice again how your feelings might shift. It's likely you're taking a little journey back towards the 0 step. You're moving back towards presence. You're noticing that I'm just talking about me again. I'm not a 5-year-old anymore. I'm now a 66-year-old man, and I'm a 66-year-old man having a sweet memory of something. So I'm much more present than I was a moment ago. Feeling satisfied that I'm living my purpose.
And just notice what it's like for you.
So sometimes,
So, there's a request here. Print's too small for me.
he says, I'm sorry, feeling sweet
Oh,
pain.
pain.
P-A-I-N,
Yeah.
pain.
That was for come. Yeah,
Sweet pain.
pain. There you
You're
go.
welcome. So sometimes another feeling starts to arise, like an urge, like something that's motivating you to do something, and that's a request is beginning to build in you. Perhaps maybe there's a next step for you about this,
Mhm.
some way that you want to contribute to the needs. So find out for yourself if there's something that you would like to do in the service of the needs that you identified with. Is there a request? We're going to put you back into your small groups for 15 minutes to connect about this experience. We've been talking for a while. I want to give you a chance to.
Yeah.
So we're going to do this for 15 minutes, put you back into small groups. Some of you will end up in different small groups because there's been more people have arrived and some people have left. So for everyone will have about 5 minutes to share. And so this is a chance for you to share your experience of this exercise. And the question that might be fun to answer is, what was useful for you? What was most useful for you about this exercise?
And when we say 15 minutes, that's 15 minutes plus 2 at the end. We'll close the rooms at 15 minutes, but 2 minutes just so you can finish your sentence or get the whatever is still hanging finished there. So having said that, we will open the rooms and we'll move people around to make sure there are 3 in each room as best we can. Back. So thank you for all the connections that you've made and with yourself and each other so far. And I'd love to hear anything that is alive in you about this process. Was anything useful?
Okay, Sharona.
Yes, in our group, one of our members sharing maybe triggered something in the other, and they had a very honest conversation.
Wow.
And I felt very honored, and also like I could witness their sincerity and their dialogue. And the topic of enmeshment came up. Yeah, that's another additional gift.
Yeah, it sounds like it was really touching for you to be able to witness that and to hold them at that point. Thank you.
I don't know if I held them, but I felt honored to witness them.
Honored. Thank you.
Yeah, when I use the word held, it's like just being present for it. Yeah, it's not like you're doing, it's a being. Yeah. Well, thank you. And let's see, could you read the names
Siva?
out? Because the
Eva is next,
Thank
and then
you.
Cecilia.
So in our group, there was Gabriel from New York, USA, and Claudia from Australia. So what was so wonderful is a tribute to Jory and Jim and your ability to connect us using Zoom. It opens up a platform for feelings and real living engagement and connection with the people all over the world. As for me, because the only language that works for me is English, and God bless the British for conquering all these places and spreading English. So,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Thanks, Eva.
Yeah, thank you.
Cecilia?
Yes. So for me, I think this, the story that came up, and it was very good to discuss with Corey and Suzanne, and Corey just wrote something in the chat as well around that. It's that situation when you are about to leave and you're looking for something, and then someone else is waiting for you and you cannot find it. And I was just, I think, appreciating how under these conditions, it's very easy to get triggered. And how being in the space allowed me to not be in that place and exercise my compassionate voice so I can have it in more available to me next time around, because it is bound to happen again. So yeah, so thank you for inviting us into that and allowing me to remember that it's possible to live this moment for maybe a more calmer and self-loving and not so self-judging place.
You're very welcome. And thank you for sharing that. I celebrate making things visible like this, because your sharing also is a contribution to everybody here too, as we explore our shared humanity. Thank you.
And I love the insight that you shared, Cecilia, that something like this is bound to happen again. And so when we take the time to go through a self-empathic or self-compassion process like this, it's actually preparing our nervous systems for the next inevitable time. It doesn't mean we won't get caught up again. It doesn't mean we won't get stuck again. It doesn't mean we won't get angry or hurt or any of that again, but we're starting to lay down some new grooves in our brain so that at least we can show up for ourselves with a little bit more compassion next time.
Yes, thank you. At least we'll remember we have two voices, not just one.
Yes,
as
exactly.
a bare minimum, right?
Yeah. Right. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And Juliana.
Yeah, so thank you, Jim, for the exercise, and thank you, Sarah, my partner in sharing room. Yeah, so it was very, I realized that now as an adult, I have the ability to give a new meaning to that pain. I still feel the pain when I remember the thing I lost. But the way I have managed to reframe it is that it reminds me of the person who gave me that thing. And, I kind of just hold on and value that person and who's alive with me. I've lost the thing, but the person is alive with me. So I just value that person even more and make that thing which I lost more alive in the present. And, it's beautiful. Thank you. So the pain is still there, but it's more beautiful. It's made it more beautiful.
Yeah, we call that
The reality.
sweet pain. Yeah, it becomes a sweet pain.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a thing, you know, and it also, another thing, it also reminds me of how everything passes in life, you know, nothing is permanent, impermanence of life and material things in life. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Siva?
I want to call to everybody's attention at 7:30 p.m. on the chat. I put the name of a book that I listened to one time. I'm listening to again. It's 5 hours in length of listening time, so a relatively short book. It's called The Story of My Life. It's a memoir, and I think memoirs are the best kind of things to read or listen to, because whoever is telling the story is talking about how they felt at such and such an age, going way back to childhood, and it's, we can all connect with that because we all were younger.
Yeah. It's a wonderful reading. Memoirs, biographies, novels, any kind of reading really can help awaken empathy, because we're actually connecting to another person's thoughts when we're reading their words. And so it's a great place to stretch our empathy skills. Thanks, Siva.
Thank you, Siva. And that's also part of our shared humanity. We really can have even that sense of belonging because we see we're all human beings going through whatever we're going through. And do we see any more hands?
No other hands.
I just wonder if there's anything anyone wants to point out about what was easy or hard about this, or anything else that you would enjoy sharing.
Or questions too. If not, we'll have another practice.
If someone has a question, I feel a little unresolved. Can you see that in the chat?
In the chat.
In the chat. Okay, hold on. Let's see if we can get to it.
I'm going to move this out of the way. We're using a little screen here.
There, you move it.
There we go. I feel a little, let me have to
Yeah,
move this.
please.
I feel a little, I feel like I need my glasses. I feel a little unresolved. One of the members in our group believes that his books are stolen by a colleague and it's still causing pain even after a few years passed. Would self-empathy alone be adequate when harm was done? That's a good question. The way I look at it is this self-empathy process, or this mourning process. I often say that mourning is the middle. Mourning is the middle. It's not the end. So we're with the sweet pain, giving ourselves this warmth and this empathy. And then from that, we may have a request. And to follow that urge to contribute. A request is about compassionate giving, as well as compassionate receiving. So maybe there's something that can be given for this person that's still in an unresolved state. It seems, what's the word I'm looking for? The opposite maybe of what you would expect, but I've heard many stories of, say, when someone loses something. Well, you read about this all the time in the paper, where there's some kind of a tragedy, where someone, maybe they lose their they lose a loved one in some kind of crime, and that motivates them to then become an activist to try to prevent that kind of crime from happening in the future. And so many social change organizations emerge from sweet pain in order to try to figure out a strategy or some new strategies that would prevent future harms from taking place. So that's an interesting distinction for me between there's three different kinds of justice that have been identified, at least three. One is a punitive system of justice, and that's pretty much what we live in now. That's our primary source of, so someone is perceived to have done something wrong, then we punish them in order to try to teach them a lesson so they won't reoffend. It's never worked.
No.
There's never been any kind of study that has ever showed that punishment actually prevents crime.
No.
It actually breeds more crime.
Yeah, it's either we'll go into rebellion or into self flagellation, and it just doesn't bring us into the quality of showing up fully and being able to contribute to ourselves and each other.
And so then the second form of justice is a restorative form of justice. And that's really catching on. There's all kinds of restorative justice programs in the United States where first you're reframing things that there's nothing wrong going on, but harm has occurred. And so the idea is that through some sort of a connective process, you help people to understand what the harm was, and you try to restore things to the pre-harm condition. And so that's restorative justice. And then there's a newly emerging form of justice now called transformative justice, where restoration is seen as the middle. We get to this place where we understand that there's been harm, perhaps harm like we'll never get these books back, for example, in the case of the chat. But maybe we can do something that can transform the system so that a similar kind of harm can't happen in the future. And so I'm still pretty new with this idea of transformative justice. I've been learning some about it, trying to think it through and how it might fit in with the strategies that I'm already using. Go ahead, Tanya.
So along the lines of transformative justice, our teacher from 2,500 years ago mentions when somebody takes something without permission, then you give it to them. Works for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to get it back. So it's like, enjoy it, mazel tov, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had that experience. It's so liberating, you know, and even sometimes the thought of, you know, maybe you needed that more than I did, you know, and just so that we can see the other person as a human being doing the best they know how. If they knew a different way, they'd do it differently.
And you're starting to point out now, Tanya, this there's a possible shift from what we've done so far, which is kind of self-empathy for old pain, you know, and we chose something really, really small on purpose to make it easy to practice. But the way we really stretch these skills is, I call it off the cushion practice. So I'm going to teach you a quick little technique. For some of you, it'll be review because we do this one a lot. I learned this from Mary McKenzie. And I will use an exact experience similar to what you talked about as my example, as if it just happened. So the first thing to do is, again, NBC practice almost always begins with an observation. So think of a situation in which, and again, choose something kind of minor, where you experience some kind of harm or loss, but not something that sends you into therapy. Maybe you lost some books, or you lost your keys, or something that was painful, but not something that sends you to therapy, not something that...
where you lose really your presence. If it's really intense, you get lost in that past experience. So it's something you can stay present with as the observer of it, not the victim of it right now.
Yeah. So I'll just give you a quick example, and then I'll be quiet so you can write it. So Jory and I were in India, and we'd just begun this journey, and I had basically a brand new pair of Tiva sandals. And we went to visit our friend that we were visiting down in Chennai, took us to a temple. And of course, you take your shoes off before you go into the temple. And we hung out at the temple for half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. And then we went out, and guess what? My shoes were gone. And so that's my observation. My shoes were missing from where I left them at the temple. So you write down an observation like that.
Jim, there's something I want to say.
Go ahead.
So since you mentioned your shoes getting stolen at a temple, the belief in India is that whoever steals your shoes from a temple carries your sins with them.
Oh, he's been liberated ever since. Oh, I see why.
That's even better than self-empathy. Thank you, Sudha.
And I see that Beth and or Don have their hand up.
Beth.
Yeah, what's resonating with me through this whole exercise is how we're attached to our objects, because for me, and I think a lot of people, has to do with memory attachment. And there's a fear that if we lose that object, perhaps we'll lose some of our memories. You know, and looking at pictures, for example, I take a lot of pictures, and it's because I don't take too much time to write. And I always go back to my pictures, and then I look at pictures, I can bring back memories of things that I forgot about. Now, if I didn't have those, would I remember? You know, how important are those things?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have a story attached to these objects. When we lose the object, we're worried that we might lose the story too.
Yeah. I think that's a big one. And I think that really is a major reason for a lot of clutter.
Could be.
You know, and I look at a box of stuff and it's like, I should just throw it out. But no, that reminds me of something. Yeah, it's like, oh gosh.
Great. So back to the exercise. Thank you, Beth. I guess most people have had a chance to write down the observation. And the second thing, we're going to approach it rather from the feeling doorway this time. We're going to approach it from the thought doorway. So what's the judgment that came up for you when this thing happened? What was the judgment, the moral judgment that you have?
Yeah, the thing that was wrong, you know, when you played the right-wrong game.
I won't bore you with all my judgments, but I just said something like, my judgment was pity. You know, it was very kind of it was a very painful kind of a pitiful thought, and it didn't really help at all. But I went to a thought that that this person was needed it more than I did. And then maybe I had a judgment that they were selfish. So just write down a judgment, just maybe one or two judgments that come up for you.
So they could be positive in that maybe they needed it more, or it could be the negative judgment you had about them.
And make it brief, not a real long bag full of pain, just like a quick little judgment, like they're selfish.
Yeah, you can start with they are. That's usually a good place. And that will be quiet so you can write.
Can you say again what we were supposed to?
Yeah, the first part was that you came up with a loss or a small harm, and now what's your thinking about it? What judgment do you have about the person who did this to you, or about yourself? Maybe the judgment is of yourself.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you, Kwong, for putting it in the chat.
Nice examples in the chat. And then say it to yourself, and say it to yourself in whatever tone of voice is appropriate for it. Like, that person sucks. They shouldn't have taken my shoes.
Yeah, so with whatever emotion is arising in you, you can just briefly, in a few words, say what comes alive.
And say it to yourself 3 times. And then notice how you feel when you talk to yourself that way. Return to the body, to the experience of your body, and notice the effect of that kind of self-talk. And if you want to write it in the chat, that's great. Or just feel it. And that's enough suffering for now. That's a good definition for suffering, is talking to ourselves that way. And so let that go for a minute and just look around your space.
Find something you like looking at. We just did. You do it for you.
And now convert that judgment to a need. One of the gifts that I learned from Marshall is that behind every judgment, there's a beautiful need. And the uglier the judgment, the more beautiful the need. So what's the beautiful need underneath your judgment? And you would phrase it as something like, I love it when there is. And then you fill in the need word. So in my case, I love it when there is self-responsibility. I love it when there's self-responsibility. So what would it be for you? You don't have to worry about it being the right need. Just the first one that comes up, because it might lead to other needs. And then you say that to yourself with warm energy again, with the voice of compassion. Oh, I love it when there's self-responsibility. And again, repeat it to yourself a few times. And then again, notice the effect that talking to yourself that way has on your body. And if you want to report your feelings in the chat, that's great. Thank you. Puja. Yeah, sometimes it gets down to just one word.
Yeah. It's very familiar.
So we only have about 15 minutes left. So I want you to have a chance to go back to your group and talk about this on the spot version of self-empathy.
And mostly you're in the same room, but since there's been a little coming and going, there are a few changes.
And we'll just do this time for 9 minutes plus 1. So a total of 10 minutes. So we'll have time, a little bit of time for a checkout at the end. Yeah. So we'll see you back here in 10 minutes.
You picked up the wrong shoes by mistake. That it might be identical to another one that looks like it.
You could give them the benefit of the doubt that he made a mistake or she. Yeah, that's certainly possible. Yeah.
It's possible.
Hey, Rob, you're back here. Did you fall out of your group, Rob? Do you want me to try to put you back, or is there something you want to share here with us? You there, Rob? If you're talking, we can't hear you. You're on mute. Well, we'll stand by in case there's something for you. Just in case you're just arriving on the call, most folks are in small groups.
Okay.
We have about 4 minutes left. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, I totally spaced tonight. Darn it.
Oh,
I look forward to it so much, and then got distracted with drama.
oh.
Oh, you took the course. That's what
I
it was
did.
about.
You could do much today. Planning a trip to France and thinking about my brother-in-law. Oh boy.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
time warp.
Yeah, well, welcome to this present moment where you see we're actually sitting in our car
Oh, you are.
because we didn't have any electricity at home, so we drove out to find a place where there was cell phone coverage, and so we've been doing the call from our car about in the parking lot of the Ace Hardware store.
You know, I don't believe you. That looks like a spaceship. I think you've been abducted. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, beam me up, Scotty. Well, I just texted our daughter again, asked her if we had power yet, and there's no answer. So I guess we
Oh
don't.
gosh. Oh, no generator, huh? Because we have a generator here in Northern California.
We have solar. We have solar, so
Oh,
we still
solar.
have electricity,
Oh.
but we don't have internet. Internet requires our internet provider uses the local electric company to power their.
No. Yeah.
It's the cost of living on an island. We don't have any other choice.
Yeah.
I love Maui. I'd do anything to live there. I think. But anyway.
Well, we need all the help you can get.
It takes a lot.
It does.
If you beware what you say, you can't give anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we love it when people come, even if it's just for the last 10 or 15 minutes. I'm glad you came to just check in and say hello.
It's sweet,
Yeah.
when we have a little bit of connection here.
Yeah, and I have to say, especially Jory, I feel you have a skill I don't have, and that is like holding the open heart space. Because I've helped with NVC sometimes, and I get so rigid about, that's a strategy. We're not supposed to have any strategies now, or but just to feel open, laugh what goes on, accepting.
Most of the time. I don't want to look too angelic here. I would rather be seen as a real person.
Back to earth. Okay. Oh, you are on Earth still. Okay.
And we actually have a friend who we're not seeing at the moment. We haven't seen her in a while, but she used to enjoy coming to our house and hanging out and eating meals with us and kind of living with us, because then she got to see how her NVC teachers were in real life. She would get to see us like get snippy with each other or fight. And she'd say one day, she said to us, "I love it when you guys fight."
which totally turned me off in that moment. I couldn't appreciate it in that moment because those are not my favorite moments.
I remember Marshall used to have this really interesting relationship with Julie Green, and they'd be like insulting each other, like really intensely, but it would be part of their closeness and their connection.
Right.
I'd be like alarmed and very interesting. Yeah,
I saw that happen too.
And it's not just the words we use, but it's where we're coming from when we do it.
Yeah.
And do we want connection? Often we don't when we're using words like that. I don't really want to connect with you. And yet I'm talking to you. Why? Why would I do that?
Just so you know, I just closed the breakout rooms.
Okay.
And everybody will be back here in about 30, 40 seconds.
Here they come.
Yep. And we'll just kind of do a little checkout and then our closing stuff. And I'll see if someone wants to volunteer to hold the space so we can turn them over to make the host. while
Right.
we
I
go
already
home.
have a co-host.
Oh, okay.
So we check out move that so we can look.
Okay.
Okay. Here they come.
Close that. So I made a co-host here.
You're probably still in a small group.
Oh,
so-
right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if she's willing to hold the space for it.
Okay, we'll check. All right, most people are coming back now. Another few seconds.
Aloha, welcome back.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So you want to check to see,
Yeah, but so we have a few more minutes left and a few things yet to be said. And before, I just want to find out if there's anyone who's willing to hold this, to become a co-host to hold this, because we're going to shut it down at the end, and often people like to stay on. So if you're someone who wants to stay on and you're willing to be the co-host, would you put that in the chat for me?
or just raise your hand too.
No, I'd rather you put it in the chat for
Great.
me. Thank you.
Sure. And anybody want to report anything from this last little small group, especially if we haven't heard your voice yet today? If there's something that you would like to say about I love it when, go ahead, Zohar. Love to hear your voice today.
Hi, I have a question about this exercise. So what if we still don't feel resolved after this exercise? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's not an automatic fix. It's not like you take a pill, and it numbs you out. It may mean that you just need more empathy, and maybe empathy from somebody else, or give it to yourself to really be able to settle down that nervous system, to really acknowledge those needs, and to be able to find your own humanity and the shared humanity with others. How does that land for you?
Yeah, so I'm understanding that sometimes just deepening the connection with those needs that I wish they were met, and repeating this again and again and again with myself might give me this empathy that I need.
Yes,
Is that correct?
and maybe there's a friend or somebody that you trust who'd be willing to listen to you, because sometimes we just need that extra support. It's a beautiful thing to find empathy when we feel ourselves, particularly when we feel ourselves stuck in a way.
Yeah.
Right. And I'll put my contact information in the chat toward the end, because I'm willing to sit with you or other people as we move through these challenges.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to add something. Maybe we could be back in the same group and address it a little more, Zohar, afterwards, if you have time.
Thank you.
And you feel like it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And Eva?
Thank you. I'm looking for somebody, including Gabriel, to contact me either by phone or email, who wants help dealing with their child with respect to elementary school arithmetic or phonics. I have expertise in both, and the school systems are not doing a good job, and I want to help you. So my email is easy. It's sivahyman@gmail.com. My landline phone number is 650-FIT-MATH, and I put it in the chat.
Cool. That's a very sweet offer, Ziva. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to put something in the chat too, which is we're doing fundraising for the Center for Nonviolent Communication. And one of the ways is to buy my new book. It's been out since October 1st. So you can buy some copies and give it to friends. That's a really needs meeting way for me to celebrate the season. You can also give money directly.
Oops, you didn't get it all.
Okay, thanks. You can also donate some money to Center for Nonviolent Communication. If you live in the United States, it might be tax deductible for you. You can check with your own accountant. And you can also send us money and we will forward it on to CNBC or for scholarships for people. And let's see here. Next week, what's next week? We're gonna do, so I don't remember what the next one in the schedule is. Maybe somebody who's got my book can look it up. What comes after recovering from reactivity? I think it's request consciousness. I think we move into requests next week.
I see that Claudia has it. Yes, thank you,
Yeah,
Claudia.
request consciousness. So that's a fun class. We will continue to, because that's what happens, Zohar. You know, when we like I said earlier, mourning is the middle, and mourning takes as long as it takes. And you know, most human feelings last for 45 seconds or less, except for grief. Grief and love are super long lasting feelings, and they're actually forms of the same emotion. Grief is just the love we have in the face of loss. And so these are very long lasting feelings. I lost both my parents. I've lost my brother, lost Jory's mom, lost two brother-in-laws. Those losses are never going to change. They're never going to go away. I will always have that mourning in me. And yet I can still be present, and I can still interact with the world in a compassionate way. And that comes through the power of request. So we'll work on that more next week.